So last night you had what was just under 10 minutes by the president. A lot of stuff we'd heard before. I thought he did a good job of kind of package dealing some of the anecdotal stuff that's out there. Everything including the law enforcement officer from Christmas Day to some pretty horrific stories elsewhere in the country. And, of course, he's accused of using those people as props by people who surround themselves with children's at anti-gun rallies. But he also... he wasn't just kind of off doing his own thing. He was very on message. You could tell he was off the teleprompter. Chuck and Nancy also on their teleprompter, giving a rebuttal. I didn't hear anything new. That's just me. Maybe you got something out of it. What do you think?
No, nothing new. But I think it's worthwhile and a worthy thing to do for the president to get on himself and speak to the American people rather than the American people only getting the narrative through the news media. I think that is what he should be doing. I think there's a lot more narratives that could be played out here. One is just the cost, right? We're sitting here, we're squabbling. I know you've talked about this a million times, but we're squabbling over $5 billion. Yeah, it's a lot of money. But we can go through all those government waste sites and find $5 billion in about 5 minutes. And so we're really not squabbling over money here. This isn't about $5 billion or $25 billion or $100 billion for a wall. This is an ideological squabble. And I think when you get to these things, you should always ask why. I mean, the statistics are there of the problem. And I think that's what the president did yesterday is he laid out statistically, what is the danger of not having border security, real border security? And it is the Democrats will say, well, this is a human rights issue of sorts. Well, it kind of is. I mean, you're seeing all kinds of horrific things happen to these people before they even get to our border. The sex crimes alone, but the violence and the physical abuse and all these things that are happening to people on their way alone is a problem. So I think we all know that there's a need for border security down there. I'm a fan of having a wall or a fence that's not penetrable. And at the same time, we all know that we need to have a immigration policy that is significantly reformed. I mean, we do have, a lot of people, if you ask people how many immigrants that have come through the proper process, how many immigrants do we have in America? It's about 1/10 of our population, Casey. It's over 30 million people here have immigrated to America. It's not like we don't have immigrants. So we have some good policy, but we need to obviously deal with the policy related to our immediate borders in the north and the south.
And specifically, we have the most generous immigration numbers, legal immigration numbers in the world. And to put it in perspective, the cost we're talking about, it's 0.01. It's 0.13% of total expenditures. That's what this debate is about. And if the debate was about a technology and functionality, right? Like if we were just saying, all right, look, the wall's stupid, but we think ground sensors are better. 5 years ago, the technology wasn't there, and now it is. That would be a debate I would enjoy actually watching adults have in Washington, but we're not. Luis Gutierrez was doing analysis for CNN yesterday, the commie from Chicago, and that guy, he's a flamethrower when he comes out, but he's also one of those people that's big on that number that 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 women in college will be raped. Right, that's that number that you hear thrown around, but it's never really proven. And he took issue with the president's assertion that 1 out of 3 of the women who are in one of these caravans will find themselves a victim of sexual assault. And I'm thinking, right? Like it makes your head hurt, man.
Those aren't the president's numbers. That was actually from a study that was done. All the numbers were fact-checked. I actually read this morning from Heritage Foundation. They put out a fact-checker on all the president's facts, and they all proved out to be true. So they probably came from the Heritage Foundation to begin with, but they all proved out to be true.
Washington Post agreed, by the way. They just said he misconstrued them.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, so, that is what it is. So what we come down to is this ideological battle then, and you have to get to the, down to the heart of the issue. Why does one side not want to have border security, and why does the other side want to have border security? So that's what the battle's going to play out today, I guess, when the president gets together with Pelosi and Schumer in his office, and they try to hash it out again. And hopefully they can do that. People will say, well, you don't have to shut down the government to do this. Look all the problems it causes. Well, apparently you do have to shut down the government to do it, because they won't have the discussions when the government's not shut down. So it's at least getting people to the table to have the conversation.
As you probably are well aware, if you've stepped outside this morning, it's a post-apocalyptic hellscape out there due to the shutdown. But more specifically, what have you noticed as far as functionality from a North Carolina government standpoint with the shutdown?
Yeah. Well, the things that I've heard specifically related to hurricane relief funding, I actually overheard the Commissioner of Agriculture, Steve Troxler, talking about it yesterday to the governor. We were in a Council of State meeting and talking about how they're in the process and they're trying to get these payments to farmers and those kind of things so they can recover, and that whole process has shut down. So they're in a couple weeks behind there, but they get everything caught up. This is the way it works in the government shutdown. Everybody gets paid, everybody gets caught up, things get back to business pretty quickly. So that's going to happen. My daughter works in the federal government, and she's been without a job for a couple weeks, and so she's without a paycheck as well. So it's affecting even our family. So that's the way it goes, and that's the way this process works. But obviously, the president knows if he's going to have a serious conversation about this issue, he's going to have to be able to negotiate from a position of strength.
So you were there yesterday with Governor Cooper?
At Council of State.
Council of State. Okay, great. Could you ask him if he's going to get rid of his wall?
It actually is funny, isn't it? The one that really is funny to me is all of the folks in California, all the movie stars, and then the folks in Northern California that the Silicon Valley folks that have big walls around all of their mansions, and then they say we don't need a wall. They not only have wall, they have multiple security guards protecting their place, and so it is pretty unbelievable.
Well, and people can misconstrue. They go, oh, well, you can't conflate the two. No. It's not that you're conflating. It's that you're literally saying that walls are ineffective.
Yeah,
and yet you utilize one. Obviously, it's a combination of efforts that you use. So why don't you be genuine about this? I think it's a good place to sum it up. So I'll let you get to it. And Dan, appreciate it very much. We'll talk next week. Okay.
Hey, it's good to talk to you again. Good to get back on schedule, Casey.
Yeah,
talk
absolutely.